Hello everyone, welcome back to the Waste World Podcast. My name is Gage Edwards, here with you again on the road. Currently traveling in between, somewhere in between WET and GWMS currently, talking to industry experts, figuring out the latest and greatest, and trying to secure more guests, which it does sound like we have a good lineup coming to you. But in the meantime, since I'm out of the office, you get another WasteExpo 2025 session. Today's is called Culture at the Core, Driving Success in the Waste Industry. This one is let me find it here, the NWRA Women's Council Spotlight. So good to know as we jump in. So you'll hear from executives across the waste and recycling sector, sharing firsthand insights into how culture impacts safety, employee engagement, leadership development, operational performance, and even growth strategy. So this panel featured Patti Hamilton of Coastal Waste Recycling, Paul Ross of American Waste Control, William J. Rumpke Jr. of Rumpke Waste and Recycling, Erin Huber of International Motors, Jason Kraft of Waste Connections, and Maria Frizzell of Schaefer Plastics North America. So a lot of great voices on this panel. You won't want to turn this episode off. So good thing you're here. Listen throughout the whole thing for me and for them. So this panel is going to cover some strong values in leadership to build trust, accountability, and how that protects culture, how technology and growth impact employee engagement, and why culture isn't just a buzzword anymore. It's competitive advantage. All important to leading a business and being in this industry. So if you've ever wondered what the top organizations scale while maintaining their identity, this discussion offers that. So be sure to take notes. Take notes on today's session. Before the jump, I'll remind you that the Waste World Podcast is found on Spotify, Apple iTunes Podcasts, the other podcasts of the world. Those are the only two I'm innately familiar with. Those are the ones that I use. But I know we're on other podcasting services. We're also on YouTube for the video version of this podcast. The waste360.com website has all of our podcast episodes well, I guess it has all of them. I was going to say all of them and the old ones, but it has all of them. So go there to check those out and other headlines from the waste and recycling industry. You won't want to miss what is going on. I am going long with this intro, so let's just go to the episode now. Enjoy!
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming today. My name is Amanda Curtis, and I'm with American Waste Control. Thank you. Thanks, Paul. So thank you for coming out today. This session is going to be a wonderful session. The National Waste and Recycling Association was started over 2 decades ago. The Women's Council, my apologies on that. And it was started by like-minded industry professionals that were dedicated to promoting and advancing the waste and recycling industry through education, networking, professional development, and the award of academic scholarships. Thank you to our members who have donated to the scholarship. The scholarship over the years, and since 2007, we have given away over $520,000 in scholarships. So wonderful for that. Can my Women's Council members and board please stand? Thank you. Today, after the session, please take a moment to connect with our members and also take the opportunity to buy a raffle ticket. And the raffle will be drawn today at 1:30 p.m. at the NWRA booth. What number are we up to? Do we know? We're not for sure yet on that, but it's over 10,000. It's over 10,000. So make sure you get one of those raffle tickets. Or books. Yep, or books. Yeah, we're selling books as well. And exactly. So the Spotlight session today is a wonderful example of the work accomplished by my Women's Council colleagues. Today we have an inspiring session in store for you, and I'd like to introduce my friend, colleague, and professional development co-chair, Erin Huber.
Thank you, Miss Amanda. Appreciate it. Welcome to today's session, Culture at the Core, Driving Success in the Waste Industry. Again, my name is Erin Huber, and I'm with International Motors, and I am so happy all of you decided to get up 9 o'clock in the morning. Really appreciate it. And you all look nice. Well, most of you, but so glad you're all dressed. And so thank you for being here. Have been asked, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, so forgive me. Worldly is a app that you can download from the QR code if you need closed captioning. I have been told, though, that it will show curse words, so I apologize in advance if that happens. But it is in your language if you need something different, so just an FYI. A couple other items just to go through before we get started. There will be a Q&A at the end, so make sure to keep your questions readily available. We'd love to hear from you. You guys are what makes this a great session, so make sure to keep those up at the forefront. At the end of the session, there will be a QR code to rate this session. So if you need payment, please see Carrie for a 5-star review. We would really appreciate that, although the budget is very limited. So come early. WasteExpo and all our partners, thank you for your attendance and support. Okay, the commercial is now over. Welcome, panel. We're so glad you're here. The NWRA Board of Directors has handpicked the panel that you see here. They have great insight into company culture, and they truly exhibit it at their core. So we are so excited to have them. So let's get started so you can meet them. I'd like to first welcome Paul Ross, who serves as Vice President of American Waste Control. Paul, please share a little about yourself and your company.
Sure. I'll make it very quick. I'm proud father of 5 kids. I'm the Vice President of American Waste Control, founded by NWRA Hall of Famer Kenneth Burkett, sitting right there on the front row. We have about 335 employees, 235 trucks, a MRF, a transfer station, a waste-to-energy landfill, and we're honored to be a part of this panel. Thank you all.
Thank you, Paul. We're so glad you're here. Maria Frizzell serves as President of Schaefer Plastics North America. Maria?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Maria Frizzell. I work for Schaefer Plastics North America. I've been with the company going on 20 years now. We're about 700 people that serve the North American footprint. Globally, we're a 10,000 employee company. We work and serve in 70 countries around the world. And I am equally happy to be here today and really excited to talk about this topic. I think it's a very important topic. And so far, speaking briefly with our panelists, we're all pretty passionate about it. So I look forward to the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Thanks for being here. Bill Rumpke Jr., who serves as President and Chief Executive Officer at Rumpke Waste Recycling. Bill, please share a little about yourself.
Good morning. Am I good? Okay. I'm Bill Rumpke Jr. I am the 3rd generation of Bill Rumpke. Bill Rumpke's leading our family-owned company. My grandfather started it in 1932. Very much a family business. Today we still have, I think there are over 100 family-related members that still work for the organization. Out here this year, and specifically to celebrate 40 under 40 for my son-in-law with my wife Diane and my daughter and my 2 sons. So we had a great time yesterday at that event. So it was good. Our company is growing like crazy and continues to grow. We're very proud of what we're doing, and culture is a big part of that. As I mentioned, family company, but we have 4,000 employees, so not everybody's a family company. So we work hard to try to make sure everybody is aligned and helps us to continue to grow our company. So we exceeded $1 billion in revenue a couple of years ago. So we're excited about our continued growth.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Good morning. I'm Patti Hamilton. I am one of 1,800 or 1,600, I guess, culture fanatics down at Coastal Waste and Recycling. We're a company that I've been very honored and privileged to be with for almost since the very beginning. We're about 7 years old. We're down in Southeast Florida. Our home base is there, but we serve 42 locations in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. And we're a full-service, fully integrated waste and recycling company, and culture is the essence of who we are, and so I'm really thrilled to be here.
Thank you, Ms. Patti. Mr. Jason Kraft, the one and only, serves as the Regional Vice President of the Southern Region for Waste Connections. Jason, tell us a bit about yourself, sir.
Thank you, Erin. Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for joining. I'm Jason Kraft from Waste Connections. been with Waste Connections for a little over 22 years, now lead the Southern region. And for us, I think we think our culture is the difference. This is our competitive advantage. So I'm really excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today. The Southern region for Waste Connections is Texas, Florida, Arkansas, Louisiana, and all the U.S. C&P assets. So we have about 4,500 people in the Southern region. We do about $2 billion a year in revenue, and really proud to represent those 4,500 today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Welcome again to all of you. We're so glad you're here. I'd like to start the questions with defining and understanding company culture. Company culture is defined by the shared values, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors that shape the work environment within an organization. It's the personality of a company, how employees interact, make decisions, and align with the company's mission and goals. It's the invisible force telling you whether it's okay to take the last donut in the break room or if that's a career-limiting move. So, we will start with Ms. Patti and Mr. Paul. How would you both define company culture, and what key elements do you believe are essential for success in the waste industry? Patti, we'll start with you.
Okay, well, I'm a newbie to the waste industry. I'm only 18 years in. There's a lot of people here longer. And I had almost 19-year career in the automotive industry before that. So to me, culture is, it doesn't matter what the business is. I've always been passionate about culture and passionate about people. And, you know, when you look at what you say that definition is, it hits everything, you know, right on the head. But at Coastal, we also believe that culture are behaviors that you teach and you celebrate. And so you can't have a culture if everybody on the team doesn't understand how important their role is in what happens at the company. It's really the essence of who we are. And as you mentioned, it's our competitive edge. It's what makes us different. And when you can bring people into an organization, it starts with hiring people who want to be in the kind of culture we have and who we want to be in the culture. And then when you get them in a room together and you've got customer service reps and CIOs and CROs and sales managers and vice presidents and different line people, and they're all in the same room hearing culture matters here, and you all play a part in it. They walk out and kind of go, wow, it really isn't words on a wall. So that's really important to us, that people understand our culture and who we are and what's expected of them. And so the teaching and education of culture is really important.
Thank you for that. That's a great response. Paul?
Yeah, I love what Patti said about behaviors. And when we think about culture at American Waste Control, culture is so much bigger than just at the company. There's been so many dramatic shifts in culture over the last 5 years, you know, in our country and in society, maybe in your hometown, maybe even in your family. And so when we think about culture at American Waste Control, we think, what does a positive culture look like? And we would define it as a stable culture, as a culture of stability. And we think the foundation at American Waste Control of a stable culture is built on trust. If the people don't trust the leadership, then your culture is going to suffer. And if your leadership doesn't trust one another, well, then a house of cards will fall. And so we just think how important it is that that culture being built on trust. Because if the behaviors don't line up with the values, well, you can say all the good intentions and be this great culture-focused company, but if the behaviors don't line up, people aren't going to trust leadership. People aren't going to trust each other. And so we had our leadership team at American Waste Control, we did a exercise to define what are our values. What are our core values? This wasn't a deal where we went to ChatGPT and asked what our values were. We actually asked our leadership team, who is American Waste Control? It was started by a man 55 years ago named Kenneth Burkett. Well, who is American Waste Control? I don't want to take the time to tell you about the exercise right now, but if you want to know how we did it, It was, we did it in a conference room. It took about an hour and a half. We had some Post-it notes. I can tell you how we did it. It'll take me about 3 minutes. Come get me after this session and I'll tell you how we did it. And we can establish your values and build your culture based on trust today, right now. So come see me afterwards, okay? Great question.
Erin, I just want to add to that 100%. It's so great when you're in an organization that gets focused. We were blessed because our founder and CEO, who's here, Brendan Pantano, he decided what the culture of Coastal was going to look like before he bought the first truck. And so everything we do is focused on safety, integrity, and customer service. And when you don't waver from that, and I can tell you in the 7 years I've been around, I've never seen us, decisions are made that way. And so your culture really is your values. It's like once you know that and you hire like-minded people and you bring a team together that is focused. So our culture is really focused on people, and it's on our values of safety, integrity, and customer service and servant leadership. So it's a blessing to be in a company, because I've worked in companies where we've had to go in and kind of rearrange the culture.
Thank you both for your expertise. It's really great. Appreciate that. Bill and Maria, in your opinion, what role does leadership play in cultivating and maintaining a strong company culture? Bill, we'll start with you.
I think it's critical. So as we look to hire leaders and new management within the organization, we make sure, one of the main things we do is make sure that they understand our culture and they live our culture. So kind of similar to what's already been discussed, we have identified key values that we want to see in our organization and that we regularly identify and remind, and the management team does that. Those key values are teamwork, quality, perseverance, growth, and responsibility. So as I mentioned earlier, we're growing very quickly. We're a family company, and we don't want to lose that family relationship to our employees. So it was probably 3 years ago, we did a very similar exercise. I got my senior team together and we spent a day evaluating what really were our values. What were they from the day we started and what are they today? And as I said, as we grew fast, there wasn't a Rumpke member, family member, or there wasn't a senior manager at every location anymore that understood what those values are. So it was important that we identified those values and hired managers that wanted to live that way. We didn't need militaristic managers. We needed people that wanted to work with people and value people. And that's how we're able to continue to be who we are, a company that cares about its employees and therefore cares about its customers and will continue to grow.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Maria?
I'll add to that, Erin. I think the responsibility of leadership is, first of all, to identify who we are as a company. That's the first step. Who we are, what do we believe in, the values that we've all talked about. Secondly, I think it's really important that we exemplify those values in every transaction we have with our internal stakeholders, our employees, each other, but then also how do we present ourselves to the world as a company? How do you represent Schaefer when you're visiting a customer, when you're going to a show, when you're talking? So the value system has to come from leadership. It has to basically define, this is who we are, this is how we behave with each other, this is how we behave in the markets that we serve. Patti, you mentioned servant leadership. I know, Bill, you did as well. That is key for us. We absolutely have to show our employees the values that we are trying to teach and to model, and then also to hold everyone accountable to that and give the ability to our employees to say to someone else, you know what, that behavior isn't really acceptable here. This isn't who we are. And we all do our best to hire people that are like-minded, that have the same value systems, that really believe in what our mission is. And we do that right at the interview. We tell people that we start the interview by, this is who we are, this is how we behave, and if this is something you want to be a part of, we'll continue this discussion. But leadership plays a key role in defining it and constantly pushing that message to our employees at every touch point that we have.
Wow. Very impressive. Thank you for your insights. I appreciate that. Let's shift our focus to exploring the impacts and examples of company culture, along with the challenges that it brings and the solutions that can address them. Next question is for Maria and Jason. Can you both share an example of how your company culture has directly influenced business outcomes or operational efficiency? Jason, we'll start with you.
Right on. Thank you. So for me, I think this is an easy question to answer, Waste Connections. Our first value is safety, and we live through that, as you guys have talked about. It was never more evident when we did the Progressive acquisition in 2016. Similar sized companies, we acquired basically the same size company, and we acquired a company that had, on average, a 5 times higher incident rate and like an 8 times fatality rate to Waste Connections. And I think what the team showed with the impact of culture and values and making decisions, understanding everyone's accountable, we had places like New York City in particular that had a what we call a 60 I rate, went to a 20 in 12 months. And when you tell people what you expect and you hold them accountable and you understand you make value-based decisions, really, really good things happen. And, you know, I've been at Waste Connections for 22 years. We've never acquired a company that has the same level of commitment to safety that Waste Connections has. And every one of them has improved, on average, 40 to 60% in the first year.
That is extremely impressive. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that, Maria.
There's so many instances that I can bring up on, you know, how our teams come together and really exemplify our values. I'm gonna bring up something that happened last week, and it makes me proud to share this, but anyone who does business with Schaefer or talks to our people knows that we are a customer-centric company. Our number one goal is one team, one goal. That's what we preach. We start every meeting that way. It sets the tone. It lets everyone know our goal in this meeting is to come up with a solution, whatever we're doing. If we're managing production, if we're talking about growth, if we're talking with sales, if we're talking with HR, no matter what department, we start our meetings by setting the goal and letting everyone know this is how we behave in this meeting. There's one goal we're trying to achieve this outcome at the end. So last week we had an instance, and I think it's important to not only talk about the things that come easily, the things that we all experience every day, and they're great wins, and we talked about that. The wins are easy, right? When you have the wind at your back, it's great. But there's instances where you see culture coming together. So for us, we don't allow any department to work as a silo. Everyone works with one goal. It's serving our customers. And we measure that. We talk about it all the time, when we're doing well and when we're not doing well. And for me, it really came together last week when we talk about one goal, the whole team, right? We win together or we lose together. And we had an instance where 2 directors came to me and said, you know, we need 15 minutes of your time. And that is our model at Schaefer. There's no hierarchy, open door policy. We're all there to serve our customers, and we do it as a team together. And the instance was they noticed that one of the someone in another department, and of course I'm not going to name details because I have many people here from Schaefer that are leaning in, listening, they recognized that we had a department that wasn't performing at the level they were used to, and they noticed that the manager was struggling, and in turn the teams were struggling. And they brought it to my attention not to say, so-and-so isn't doing well. It was more, we notice a problem, we need to solve it, it's going to affect our orders, it's going to affect our customers. What do we do? Immediately, within 20 minutes, we had a meeting on our calendar for the next morning, every stakeholder that could help solve the problem. It turned out that one of our team members was dealing with some medical issues that he hadn't shared. And that was distracting him. That was taking him away for a couple of hours every day, dealing with doctors. So what for me was really incredible to watch was a team of managers surround this manager and say, this is what we're noticing. This is what we can do to help. And within 24 hours, they had all come together, given us staff put a plan together, a short-term plan. This is what we're going to do for the next 2 weeks while you're dealing with this. We're going to visit it, at the end of every day, see how everyone's doing. And I was here when they called me on Monday to give me the solution. And I hopped on the call, started the call like we always do. This is the goal of this meeting. This is what we're doing. And then they just took it away and put their arms around this department and said, we notice you're struggling. These are the things you're not meeting your service level agreements to us. We have customers to protect, orders to protect, and you had 5 directors coming together and just making it work. To me, that is what culture is about. That is culture in action. And it's not only when things are easy, but it's when we say, and Brett, you're in this room, and I'm sure you're smiling because I didn't fill you in on all the details, but he knew the issue. But that's really when you go, okay, we're not just preaching it, we're living it, we're showing it. And our actions as leaders is, I think, what tells everyone else this is how we behave. When we say we win together or we lose together, we push that every single day. If someone comes and complains about something, it's like, be part of the solution. Go talk to them, figure out a way to make it work, help them, let them help you. And because our focus is so simple, take care of our customers. That's been the ask from our original founding fathers. Take care of our customers. It's a very simple thing to do. You always know the right things to do when your goal is just serve our customers. So for me, that was a really proud moment to say, look at them. They worked together. They identified a problem. They solved it. There was no bickering. There was no finger pointing. It was, how do we help? How do we solve it? And how do we take care of the customers that in turn could be negatively impacted? So that is an example.
I love that. Thank you both for your honesty. Very diverse, but I love that you're all practicing what you're preaching. That's awesome how you all kind of come together as a wonderful family, not a dysfunctional family. I love that. Paul and Jason, what are some of the biggest challenges that you both have faced in fostering a positive company culture, and how did you both overcome them, or maybe didn't overcome them? Please try to keep it HR approved.
So I think for me, probably one of the largest challenges is around pace. So we have a very robust culture and we invest in it every day. Everyone plays in that culture. But I think as a leader, sometimes I have higher expectations, and the pace at which I want something done needs to be grounded in reality. So, you take a seat in the cheap seats and you continue to invest and encourage and hold people accountable, but it takes longer, I think, than what you want. And I think that's the challenge. I have no doubt we'll get there. I truly believe as leaders, we invest in the culture every day, and our actions through our values display how we continue to kind of forge that culture. But I like pace, and I like to move quickly, and I want things to be better, faster. And I think understanding that, hey, you're moving a team, and it's better if you bring them with you rather than drag them along. I think the pace is the challenge. And the team continues to do really good things, but you wanted something a little bit faster, right? You get to be a little more objective because you're further away, but you also understand that it takes some time to really cement the how and what we do, why we do it.
My mom always says patience is a virtue, and I say, my name is not virtue. I don't mean that. Never mind.
I love Jason's answer about pace, and I love your example, Maria. That's really great. Being in the people business and the waste business, it seems we're always giving people second and third and fourth chances. And at American Waste Control, we do reprimands, we do performance improvement plans based on the core values. Our core values are integrity, passion, accountability, and being people focused. And we coach, we performance manage based on those core values, and we promote based on those core values. So an example I can think of is when we promote based on those core values, and you take a risk on someone who, say, was a driver, and you're bringing them into the office to work in logistics or dispatch or as a line of business manager. There's the challenge right there because you're becoming vulnerable and you're taking a risk on someone who maybe doesn't have the experience, but you see it in them. You see them living the core values of the company. You see them living the culture, and you know what they're capable of. But then they come in and maybe they start being a little bit more militaristic, like Mr. Rumpke said. And it's like, hey, look, militaristic. We appreciate you. Thank you for your service. But you're dealing with people here, and it's a little bit different. Managing expectations. Checklists are great. Holding people accountable are great. And then there's that whole process where you're performance managing them to become the best they can be in terms of managing. And then they have to earn the trust of the people that they were working alongside of, hauling roll-off loads doing. And I can't tell you how many times we've seen that at our company. But when the trust is finally earned, and they're now working with and managing the team of guys and gals that they were there driving with before, that's kind of a full circle moment where we can look back at American Waste Control and say, wow, that risk that we took with that person was worth it, because look at what they're doing now. Look at their department flourishing. Their safety is increased. Customer satisfaction is off the charts, and their family is doing well. They're buying their first house. These kinds of things. And so that's kind of an example I can think of.
Thank you for that. Appreciate your honesty. It's really interesting. Let's now take a little bit of a deeper dive into strategies, their practical implementation, and the role of emerging technologies. So, Bill and Maria, what strategies have you both implemented to enhance employee engagement and morale within your organization? Maria, we'll start with you.
We started an initiative last year globally for Schaefer, and we call it Fundamentals. And what we're doing is really finding ways to communicate with our employees, 10,000 employees around the globe, what those values are, but really helping them understand their personal impact into what we do every day. So, Patti, you said it earlier, that it's really important for each employee to understand, what is my role here, right? I'm just the guy that puts the label on the FedEx box. Like, how do I really impact this? And we do a good job, and we have town halls every quarter where we want our employees to have access to leadership. We see them on the floor, but it's not necessarily we're going to go interrupt what they're doing. So we have these town halls, and again, we talk about our values. We talk about how our wins are coming based on these values. But what we really like to do is take, and we'll do different examples each time, but we'll take, and I'll give the last one we did, which was 2 months ago. We just took an order from start to finish and basically touched on it took us 30 minutes. We touched on every part of our business. We touched on recruiting, we touched on HR, we touched on our benefits, we touched on IT, in sales and customer service and logistics, procurement, every single person that has to do something for one cart to get to a customer, right? And we said 100,000, 10,000, same process, same thing. And we went through every single department, and, we're a little comical about it. Like, okay, now we're ready to start production. Wait, we don't have resin. Who does that? Procurement does that. We really went through every single department, called out people by name. That's John's job. He does that. Gordon, where are you? Yup, did you do that? And it really showed that each and every person is important for us to achieve our goals and to serve our customers and to fulfill our commitments and to keep our promises. And I can't tell you after that how many employees came up to us and said, wow, but it was important to say, all we're doing is shipping one unit. Let's go, right? And it showed that every single role is important. Each one of us makes a decision to positively or negatively impact the process or impact our customers. And that's what we really spend a lot of time. We explain to people, even on the machines, like, you think you're making a garbage can. This garbage can enables our customers to create revenue for their 500 employees, 5 employees, 5,000 employees. So by you making a decision not to give 100%, you're now impacting 500 families. You're impacting our customers and users. And that's what we really work on, getting really granular and not talking at this level, talking right down to the basics that people can relate to. And when you start explaining to them, this is the responsibility in your hands. And when you make a decision to be part of something bigger and part of something great, this is what it looks like. And when you make a decision to just not care that day, here's everyone else that's done a great job that you're negatively affecting. And I think it's important when we talk to our employees to talk very basic, not high level. You know, we all have our buzzwords and we all bring them up in our management meetings. But for me, it's important to touch the person that's making $18 an hour and say to them, you're important, you're part of this bigger thing. And when you feel like you're part of something bigger, I think it gives you more purpose in what you do every day, because when you're, doing something repetitive, it may not seem important, but when you explain, this is what you're a part of, this is what Schaefer is, this is what we do for our customers, I think it makes you feel prouder of what you do. But when we call each and every one of those departments out, and we do it by name on purpose, and then they're like, oh, I guess that really is important. I do have to put the right label on that box, or it might end up in Alaska rather than Florida, right? So that's how we exemplify it. We make it basic but impactful.
Patti, you want to chime in real fast?
Yeah, I just want to add to it because I love that philosophy. It's very similar to ours. We've gone through that process, but I think for us specifically, everything we do, we think about how do we scale this as we grow? Because, 7 years ago, we were one location, now we're 42 locations. So everything our team, which is a bunch of them here, everything we think about is how do we take this process? We're really into, developing processes that are scalable to create that consistency. And on top of doing that, when you're making people feel so valued in what they do, if it's putting a label on a FedEx box, that person could be a district manager in 5 years. I mean, so for us, once we bring folks in, our people experience team, their focus is from application to retirement. So as we grow people in our company, we would rather bring somebody in who's passionate about what we do and really make them feel valued. And my fondest days are when someone says to me, I never have worked anywhere where anyone told me this, that how important my job was, or talked to me about the culture and talked to me about my opportunities here. So I think what you're talking about is so important, thinking to the future, because we want people to, fill up bench strength for when they're moving up. They need to be ready. If we say, you've got this opportunity, who's taken your place? And the only way you do that is to embrace everybody in the organization.
I love that. Thank you, Patti. Mr. Bill.
Yes. So we're all talking about culture. Now we build culture and we make sure our teams are together and working together. But to me, one of the biggest challenges to that culture is managing through change. Technology is bringing change. And how do you keep everybody together? How do you continue to move forward to grow the company, but to use technology to continue to improve to be the best company that you can be? So in our case, we are our call centers. We have a lot of technology around our call centers to where we listen to what our customers say and how our representatives speak to their people. So we make sure that our managers reinforce when good behavior happens, not only criticize when poor performance happens. Additionally, another much bigger initiative that we started in the last year was Netrodyne, which is a system we have on all of our trucks. So think about a bunch of truck drivers that now have a camera or have something in their truck that's monitoring every single thing that they do. So how do you keep the culture when it feels like they have Big Brother breathing down their back all the time? So how we went about it is we turned it into a game. So And those drivers with the highest scores end up winning a wrestling belt. So it's a big,
That's cool.
I won, look at this. So it's a great thing, and it drives positive change. It helps our overall organization achieve its goals, and you don't lose the culture. You get everybody pulling together and kind of challenging each other to continue to improve. So you need to think about that every time you're adding some kind of new technology. Additionally, in our recycling plants, I see the Machine X folks in the room. So we have big boards in our recycling plants that measures key KPIs and how well we're performing. Everybody in that plant is looking at those numbers because they want it to be best. And they want to be best in the company, and they know what a different plant is doing. So they're going to continue to try to improve so they can be recognized. And we recognize folks through my communications teams, through quarterly newsletters, through social media, and a multitude of ways. So everybody across the organization knows where we're winning, and those that do win are recognized. So that continues to drive that positive culture, and I think it's really important to do that. It keeps your employees engaged, it keeps them with you, and you ultimately achieve your top goals if that happens.
Bill, I have to chime in here because all I'm imagining now is UFC Rumpke. Like, does that not just look amazing in everyone's mind? I love
My
that.
SVP of Hauling's in the room. He could tell you stories.
Yeah. But what I love about that is you turn that, big brother watching into something positive. It's like, let's turn it into a game, but focusing on the wins, focusing on the positive attitudes. And I think we've all said that, right? It's so easy when you have so many things on your plate. We're all busy. We're all, and our management is, and it's easy to turn and focus on the negative things. And you have to catch yourself and say, no, for the one thing that went wrong today, 1,000 things went right.
And change is hard.
Change is.
And as we're building companies, and in our case, growing like crazy, how do you manage that, and how do you keep everybody with you? And how do you have each line of business or each piece of the business understand what they need to do to be the best and to evolve?
Yeah, but I think that's exactly the way you described it is the best way to manage people, right? You focus on the positives, you reinforce the positives, and you also you have to celebrate those wins. And I think that's what people see, and they're like, okay, maybe we're not there today, but then it motivates everyone. That's going to be us next week. We're going to be wearing the belt because our team is going to do just as well. And it just changes the conversation. Rather than focusing on where we're not succeeding, it's how do we turn those into wins as well. And I think those are great examples.
Yeah, I've had that discussion with some of my colleagues that also, if you're really focused back on that person, then those changes, that's why in my mind, brand and culture go so closely together, because we're really putting emphasis on this is personal development. We want you to be here a long time. And so all of those types of things, the more we can focus on this is for you, it's for your personal development to take that next step, to be here, to grow, that reinforcement is so important.
And I also think it's our responsibility to notice when it's not going the way we want, when someone isn't contributing the way we expect, and the behavior doesn't exemplify our values. And like we've all said, you hold people accountable, but I also think it's responsibility of leadership to say when it's time to change course, right? And I think that is what keeps your culture strong, when you don't just say it, exemplify it, reward it, but when you notice it's not happening, then it's time to take action. And we all know it's difficult to replace people, it's a huge investment, time, money, but that's also our responsibility to protect the culture for the other 900 people that are doing well. If this one person is negatively impacting, and we've done everything to help them succeed, but now we're working harder at saving their jobs than they are, I think that's a responsibility as well.
And I think that is a very tough thing in a culture where you're pushing for being focused on, people can too easily fall into this trap that, oh, I got to be nice all the time. And it's holding hands and singing Kumbaya. You cannot be that way. There has to be accountability to it, because if you really care about all the people, when you've got one person like that, you've got to stop and think, how is that one person? We were at the Breakers. I was at the Breakers a couple weeks ago, and they have an incredible culture there. I mean, and it's a 120-year-old family-owned business. And a friend of mine who's a manager, he said one of the ways we keep the culture is the senior leaders in this company are very focused on hire right, but fire fast. If there is a person that does not fit the culture, they are not here, because they impact so many people.
And you should always have direct conversations. Make sure people understand what needs to happen, what they didn't do, and once they get there, celebrate it, as I said before.
Setting expectations. I love that. Great discussion. I don't even need to be here. Just saying. Thanks. Appreciate that. Mr. Paul, good, because you're up next. I'm glad you're happy. What trends do you foresee shaping company culture in the waste industry over the next 5 to 10 years?
It's a great question, especially here at WasteExpo. What was the question again?
What trends do you foresee shaping company culture in the waste industry the next couple years?
That's a good question. Regarding technology or just in general? Yeah, okay. I would say, well, it's a good question to ask, especially at WasteExpo, while there is so much, well, we were talking about technology, because there are so many technology vendors down there. I think the trend going on in the future, I would say for the next 5 years, 5 to 10 years even, is to see technology come together and bring solutions that work together. How many times have we all bought tech packages to help our company achieve its goals, but they were all on islands, and nobody was really working cohesively together. And those days are gone. These technology companies down there, if they refuse to work with somebody else because maybe they offer onboard computer cameras and the other one does too, and they don't want to play nice, they're not the future. And tell them that to their face, because they need to be able to provide technology packages and tools and resources that work together to improve the customer experience, that improve our employee experience. So many times us leaders like to buy a piece of tech, somebody comes in and sells it to us because it's shiny, and then we give it to the user and say, make it work. And they're like, oh gosh, this isn't what I needed or wanted, and this isn't going to help me do my job. And so I think the trend is technology packages that help the users, help our people do their jobs better, improve the employee experience, improve the customer experience, and work with other technology packages. They have to be able to work together. And we can't be reactionary in our strategy anymore. We have to listen to our people, find out what they want to make their jobs better, to improve the customer experience, because that's what it's about. So great question, Erin.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for that response. This question will be for everyone, and then we'll open the floor up for you guys to ask some questions. What advice would you give to other leaders in the waste industry looking to strengthen their own organizational culture? Jason, we'll start with you.
Great question. Glad you're here, Erin. You do need to be here. I think perseverance is key. Stick up for the stuff you really believe in. Keep your head down and just run at it. I think, the panel's done a great job of talking about all the elements of the challenges in the culture, whether it's hiring the right person, making the tough decision to cut somebody. And I love what you said earlier. If you're working harder for their job than they are, then we got to cut them, right? But I think perseverance is key. And when you have a really robust culture, it's really easy to drive that culture forward. And I think discipline and commitment and perseverance, if you feel like you're waning or drifting, you got to lead, right? So put your head down and run through it.
I love that. Thank you. Ms. Patti.
Oh boy. I would say that have some self-awareness. We talk a lot. We're really focused on leadership training in our company. all of our folks go through some pretty serious 360 evaluations, and it's about self-awareness, and it's about understanding that leadership isn't a title, it's your behavior, and people are watching you. And I think that companies can take that on a large scale and say, how do we look to people? Like, because your brand is your reputation. And ultimately, the reason I love culture so much and I love the whole focus on people is that every business in America is in business for the same reason. I don't care what you're doing. You're in business to collect customers. And you don't collect customers and hold customers if your people aren't passionate about what you're doing. Because then people will say, I don't know what I'm buying, but I'm buying it from you because you love what you do. And so people will say, oh, that company has no culture. And I just laugh. I say, every company has a culture. It might be good and it might be bad, but every company has a culture. And so I think being self-aware about how do people really see us and what can we do very purposefully and persistently to raise an awareness of how we want to look to people. I just think there's sometimes a little bit too much of that. That's the way it's always been done, and that's just this business. And I've heard that in the car business. I heard in every business I'm in, that's the car business. That's just the way it is. And I just don't think, and I think a big thing that we haven't talked about in culture that's so important is the new generation of people coming out of school and their effective, the technology and the communication through texting and all those things that affect your culture. If you're not purposeful about looking at that, and people they really do want to be in a company that cares about them more, I think, than ever before. So self-awareness.
Go ahead, Jason.
So I know Bill's going to go here, but I love what you said, because every company has a culture. It's whether or not you like it, right? I mean, there's a culture that it forms naturally, or there's a defined culture that you lead through purpose and intention.
Well, I was just going to say, if you guys don't follow Patti on social media, I think she is a paid influencer.
Oh my God, I wish I could have that extra money. That'd be cool.
Her positivity, not even working at Coastal, I'm like, yeah. So, Mr. Rumpke.
The single most important thing that leaders can do is get their butt up, out off their desk, and get up and walk around and talk to people. That's the... My best days are when we travel to other locations and I'm able to go out and talk to our folks. Even every day in the office, I'll walk around the building and talk to all the individuals, and I encourage all the leaders to do the same. It's just, if leadership displays that they care about the employees, that they know something personal about them, then they're going to care about the company, and they're going to work that much harder, and that drives the culture.
When my boss knows my dog's name, it matters. Go ahead, Maria.
Okay. I think if someone was asking me, we're at the start, what do we do to create culture in our company? I think the first thing you have to do is kind of step back and say, who are we? Who do we want to be? Patti, you said it, how does the industry see us, or how do people see us? But I think more importantly than that, there's a back step for me. It's, who are we? What is our purpose? How are we going to achieve our goals? And I think identifying who you want to be as a company, and also doing those checks that you talked about, Jason, because it's very easy to drift away from your culture, and anyone sitting up here that says that's never happened to them, I don't believe you. It happens, and it's important that we do those checks and bring us back to center and say, no, this is who we are, this is how we behave. But you have to do the hard work of understanding, who are we? What are our values? How do we communicate those values? How do we communicate those internally and externally? And I think once you do that work, then it's very easy for your employees. They know the answer before they ask the question, because they know, okay, is this serving our goal? And how do we get to that goal? Oh, that's right. These are our values. This is how we do it. But you have to exemplify it. And Bill, what you said is spot on. For us, it's a mandate. Managers must have huddles with their teams every morning. And I will tell you, talk about changing people's minds. You'd think I was saying, I need you to learn how to fly a jet plane. And people were like, yeah, that's important, but my team knows me. And I'm like, mandatory, non-negotiable. Every single morning, you will start with a 15-minute meeting with your team. What does that allow you to do? It allows you to understand, what are their challenges? What are they facing today? What are their goals for the day? What are we trying to achieve today? And once you have that, they come prepared because they know, tomorrow she's going to ask me the same question. And walk around, talk to your people. That's how you build culture. That's how you build a strong company. That's how you drive a company. You're engaged, you're intentional, and you're letting people know, one, I care about you, but two, I care about our customers. And that's why I'm here talking to you, because I'm making sure that you have what you need from me as your manager to help you achieve those goals. And if I'm not doing that every day, then you're hanging out there flailing on your own, trying to do that. And Jason, you said something that I totally agree with. You either define your culture and you take control of your culture, or you will have little factions growing within your company. And now you're weeding out little kingdoms that you didn't even know were in your kingdom. That is the hard work of doing culture and making sure that every single day, like Bill said, you're engaged, you're talking to your people, you're reinforcing the values, and then it's a fun day. Then we win all day long. We all know what we're doing.
You know, just it made me think. I said this, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago to our team. We were in a meeting, and I kind of had this epiphany that, well, you know, when your culture is right, when all of a sudden you say, you know what, we're a great garbage company, but more importantly, we're a really great company that just happens to pick up garbage. I mean, that's when you really see the team work together and the capacity they have with people, and that's really what it's about. If you're really going to be people focused, it's not so much about what we're doing, it's about the people in the company.
I love that.
My answer to that question is company culture, of course, is built on trust, and trust it has to start at the top down, I believe. And trust is not built overnight. It takes time. And so it seems like an easy little cliche answer, but let me end my comment with this. Imagine going back to your job after Vegas, and you could even close your eyes and think about it if you want. Going back to the office, going back to your operations, going back to the field. And if you do close your eyes, can you picture someone in your organization, in your department, maybe a colleague, maybe a boss, that maybe you don't trust? That they've given you reason to not trust them because of their behaviors. And if they have, my encouragement to you this morning is to talk to them. If you need to bring in HR, if you need to bring in a supervisor, do it. But talk to them, because it's in that tension, it's in that conflict, you'll get better in the end. And while that may be uncomfortable, the trust that it's going to build afterwards and the impact it's going to have on just you and your mind and your heart and your contribution to your company and to your job role, it'll be better. It'll be better. And all you're responsible for is yourself anyways, right? So that's what I wanted to get across to y'all this morning.
Thank you. Wow. Opening the floor up for questions. Don't everybody jump up at once, but I was gonna say we have a middle microphone, or Amanda will pass it around if you are uncomfortable getting up. Oh, come on. You know, I was scrolling through, the gram, and I saw this meme, and it said, "Company culture is how you feel Sunday night." And I went, hopefully sober. No, I'm just kidding. But I thought, wow, please go ahead.
Loved this. I just loved everything you guys spoke of. I saw one gap, because I believe in the, addressing and holding people accountable, but saving people at a company provides a level of security and safety that is necessary as well. And turning around situations are really important with emotional intelligence training. And that is something I haven't heard spoken here before. Sometimes we provide that emotional intelligence training to leaders, but not enough to the individuals. And when they go through the medical issues or emotional issues, stress, whether it's at work or whether it's at home, to give them the tools and the strategies, the self-awareness, to be able to work with the diverse workplace that we're seeing right now. There's a lot of neurological diversity, to be able to communicate with each other. I think that's a really important topic that's coming more and more present within the corporate environment in workplaces, to provide them the tools and strategies. Do any of you up here have an actual emotional intelligence training program?
We do. Yeah.
So do we.
I just didn't bring it up. No, that's very important. And somebody mentioned a PIP plan before. That doesn't mean we're trying to work them out. That means we're trying to work with them. And part of that may be a manager's emotional intelligence with how they deal with other people, or a supervisor, or even an employee that struggles working with their coworkers.
Yes, thank you.
Bill, I think you said something earlier that is key to that. I think you need to have, the message needs to be simple and direct, right? We worry sometimes about how people will react and do we upset them, but I think the most competent thing you could do is be direct with someone and help them see the situation as it's being experienced by the company, by everyone else, and then also giving them the opportunity to bring their side of it, but having a very clear message, this is not working for us, right? And in many cases, we will say, like, this will not change, this is how we need to behave, or this is the expectation we have of you. Is that something you want to commit to? I have changed my vocabulary as I've become more experienced dealing with more people. Years go by, you get smarter, and you just ask the question, and all of a sudden it's changed the conversation. It's, do you want to do what it takes to stay here? It is absolutely always the goal of every company to save an employee. We have invested emotionally with them. They're part of the team. When we let go of people, it affects the whole team. Even though someone's not performing, they still like them. They talk to them when they're getting coffee. They know their kids. They know their dog's name. They know all these things. It hurts the whole team. And it's almost, we all have had those employees that when they leave, there's cheering in the hallways, right? Which means we've waited too long, which means we didn't do what we were supposed to do early on. But I think having an honest conversation with people and not getting emotional and just, these are the facts, this is what's not working, this is what we need to do. Are you committed to that? And now we're committed to you. But it has to be commitment from both, is my sense.
Yeah, I would say too that if you always go back to, and Brendan will always say to us, go back to the core values. And in safety is one of our core values. It's like our first core value. And we have an unbelievable safety team, but from our standpoint also, there's emotional safety. And so we're constantly in our leadership training, talking to our managers about building capacity with people, knowing those people that they're going to come to you and they're going to talk to you when they feel it's a safe space, that they can be open with you. And I would say that, we're not perfect, obviously, and not everybody does have anything perfect. I will say we have a great culture of when we don't do perfect things, we sure allow a lot of grace with one another because we all know we're human. But I think the more we focus on that relational capacity, if we really truly care about people, then there's not those surprises when something's wrong or something's happening, and I think that really matters.
Yeah, I think really caring about people is candor, right? So when you're really honest about the situation or the circumstance, it can be awkward to start, but it's really how you truly serve people is being candid. And I love that you brought up, thanks for the question, around emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence for us is a part of our formalized leadership development, but it's also, I'm a huge proponent of emotional intelligence. There's someone in the room here, and I won't point him out. He and I just had an ad hoc conversation with a high-level leader around improving their emotional intelligence. And I gave them homework, and I gave them the book. And I said, I want you to read this, and I want you to come back a month from now, and I want you to tell us how you're going to lead differently, right? It's a really, really powerful acumen. And I think we could all do a better job, candidly, of learning more and more about what our words and actions mean for others.
Thank you,
Great
guys.
question.
Sorry, I know we're running late, but organizational culture is certainly a differentiator. It can be positive or negative, and where it's positive, how are you promoting that externally? Obviously, promoting it internally, I've heard a lot about, but how are you using that to recruit the best candidates? Because today's job market, as you know, they can go right down the street and find somebody else to work for. And that is often the reason that they'll stay or leave.
I can tell you from our perspective that it's really one of the reasons we're on social media. When you talk about social media.
Sure.
But it wasn't, our founder did our social media up until just the last couple of years. And I remember him saying to me one day, we're not selling dumpsters on social media. We're selling the coastal culture. That's where our focus is, and letting people know the kind of people we are, not the company, but the kind of people we are. And so that is definitely one area. It has been tremendous for us, not just in recruiting, but in M&A. I mean, when you've got somebody out there that wants to sell their company and they're watching a company that has a very positive culture, that helps them to say, oh, gee, maybe I would feel good with my people being at that company. So I do definitely. And again, in the community, we're big on service to our community. Our teams are super engaged in getting out into the community. And, when you're standing at an event, which I have before, and you say something very nice to a waiter, and he walks away and someone says, I can't believe how nice you were to him. And somebody else says, oh, that's the coastal way. Don't you know they're all like that? So that's when you know it's working.
Yeah, Sean, great question. I think it's social media plays a part, but I think it's about how we engage locally in our community and an investment we make, whether it's the bike build that we do annually. We just had Hobbs, New Mexico, celebrate us for 20 years, and 4,000 bikes or something, Benson, that we've given to the community over the 20 years, right? So to me, it's as much about who we are and how we act in the community that people are like, I want to go work for that company. And that just happened in the southern region.
For us, tenure is also something we talk about and we boast about. We're a family-owned company, and I think the culture sometimes is a little different with family-owned companies. But for us, when we're interviewing people, we start every meeting like this with anyone that's not internal to the company. We always talk about our tenure. We introduce ourselves, and we say how many years we've been with the company. And that really resonates with people that we're interviewing for positions, because they understand for all these people to be here 35, 34, 25, and these are the numbers that are real in our business, in our company. I think that speaks volumes, because you're thinking, okay, well, no one's going to stick around for 35 years if this isn't a great company to work for. But we also make that clear. That's the type of people we're looking for. If you're someone who's looking for 2-year stints, this is not the company for you. You won't make it to 3 months, and it'll be painful for both of us. So let's stop here. But that's really what speaks to it for us. Of course, social media, like everyone's saying, and engagement in the community, 100%. But really, we just show our people, and we're like, yeah, this is a great company to work for. We hope you're a 20-year person too. So that helps.
I'll make it real quick because Bill has to catch a plane. Absolutely. I love everyone's answers here. And this is why we celebrate all wins with our team, no matter how small, no matter how big. It's why just a few weeks ago, we had a dozen members of American Waste Control at the largest Salvation Army Gala in our community. Amanda Curtis, National NWRA Women's Council member and board member, was featured at the Salvation Army Gala. And we were there. We had a dozen folks there rallied around supporting Amanda and her efforts there. And that night they raised $1.2 million. It's why we celebrated a team of landfill workers who saved a man's life using the defibrillator that they just got trained on a few weeks ago. If we can celebrate these wins with our people within our community, then you're right. We're going to become that premier employer that people want to be a part of. And we love celebrating our team members. So I love the question. And Bill, let's get you to that plane.
I was gonna say, you have one more question, but do it real quick.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tia Johnson. I want to say first, Mr. Rumpke, I'm from Ohio, so it's been a pleasure working with you guys.
Thank you.
Second, readers or leaders? What books would you recommend for companies to either give to their leadership? I'm a small business owner. If you guys could give like a quick tip on a good book to read.
Thank you.
Extreme ownership.
5 Dysfunctions of a Team, Be a Unicorn.
Yeah, same, I think. Yeah, I can't think of anything.
I'm not going to pull one out of my head, but I'm going to read both of those.
Yeah. People Helping People by Paula Marshall Chapman with the Bama Companies from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Well, thank you guys very much. Great questions. And I want to thank the panelists again. You guys were wonderful. So thank you again for your time and energy. We really appreciate it. Thank you for coming.
Okay, that wraps up this session from WasteExpo 2025. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking us back to WasteExpo last year for a fun little look back on some conversations that happened at the event. And hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you'll take something home from this episode. Share it with a friend. Oh, I'm already doing the ending here. Okay, so here's what you do. Listen to the Waste World podcast on Spotify. I'm only doing this quickly because now I have to get ready to travel. Listen to the episode on Spotify, Apple iTunes, which you probably already have. Other podcasting services has the episode available to you. Share it with a friend. Send the episode to somebody who might be interested in this. Let them know cool stuff is happening all the time. We have cool episodes. We have some cool guests lined up. I'm excited to get to those as we enter March. I think this episode comes out March 3rd. And we should have some cool stuff right after that the following week. So be in tune for that. And the best way to be in tune is to subscribe on Spotify or other podcasting services. Subscribe on YouTube for the video components and other videos that we produce. Check out waste360.com for more episodes from the Waste World podcast and all the headlines in the waste and recycling industry. Wow, I think that covers it. Okay, I'm back to traveling. Enjoy the time. Hopefully, if you went to Wet or Global Waste, you saw me, and we talked about this particular conversation. Actually, this is coming out after those events. So we didn't talk about this, but we probably talked about something, and it was lovely. Okay, thank you for listening. Goodbye.